Hello from the Dukascopy TV studio in Geneva. We're talking about asset management in Switzerland and the regulatory changes ahead with Mr. Glen Millar. He's director of ASMA, which stands for Asset Management Audit and Compliance. Welcome to the studio, Mr. Millar.
Thanks for having me. Pleased to be here.
So what is happening right now in the asset management industry?
Big change. We've had, a decade of relative calm up to 2008. And since the events of that year, the financial crisis, the managers here, the asset managers here have undergone quite some changes. We've seen the disappearance of banking secrecy, which was one of the corner pillars of investing money in Switzerland. We've seen regulation all around the world coming in and affecting the managers here. The first point around banking secrecy has basically swept away one of the big advantages, which was the tax advantage. People could invest their money here and know that it probably would never be taxed. That's all ended, which means that the returns, both for the investor and for the asset manager who takes his percentage, are under challenge. And that's the sort of backdrop against the environment that we have here in Switzerland for asset managers.
Mm-hmm. So the asset management industry is challenged right now. So what is going to be changed in Swiss regulation?
Well, it's already started happening. We had for collective investment schemes, funds, a new regulation as a result of the European AIFMD, the Fund Managers Directive for EU managers. That came into being in 2013 here, and has had some fundamental changes, with many more people being subject to prudential regulation. So basically not just the accounts, we don't just have an audit at the end of the year of the accounts, but we look at how the manager actually goes about his business, how he's organised, what his processes are, and so on. How it's all documented, it's quite a process. And that's been new, because up until then Switzerland had a relatively light touch for these sort of fund managers. But more importantly than that, perhaps, there's the Financial Services Act, which will become law. It's still going through various sort of evolution at the moment. That will become law in 2017, maybe 2018, but it won't be much late, we know that. And that will bring pretty much all asset managers under prudential supervision. What is prudential supervision? I talked a little bit about it before. The managers are going to have to be a lot more professional in the way that they are forced to do things. They're going to have to document the same way that the hedge fund managers have had to document for the last year and a half their own processes, procedures, their IT, and so on. So you can expect a bit of a shakeout in that sector, I think, over the course of the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. So what can asset managers do to be better prepared for the upcoming challenges, and also what do investors have to expect?
Well, the asset managers don't really have a choice. If they want to carry on doing business, they're going to have to adapt or stop or move. And moving is not such an easy option. I know one can say that, with technology these days, you can physically move pretty much anywhere, but the regulatory vice is coming at you from all directions. US, Europe, rest of world, there are similar rules and regulations coming into place. So your asset manager is going to have to understand, first of all, what's coming and what that's going to mean to him. And I'm talking here about the organisation. Does it have, up until now, you've perhaps not needed to have somebody dedicated to compliance or risk. There will be, I think, a professionalisation of that, and perhaps non-executive director type roles on the increase to support the boards of the asset management companies themselves, who will either grow and absorb the extra regulatory couche, sort of layer that they'll have to manage, or they'll merge, or they will seek something else. What the more enlightened ones are already doing, they're anticipating the changes, they're understanding what they're going to have to do. The self-regulatory organisations here, I think, have been quite proactive in explaining that this is going to happen, because up until now, the alternative to the prudential regulation was sort of auto-regulation through the SROs, which worked, but isn't in line with international norms. And that's why the asset managers are going to have to change. What does it mean for the investor? Well, I think the investors are already demanding more professional processes, procedures, and so on before they place money. Modern pension funds will not invest in one-man outfits very readily. They'll want due diligence questionnaires. They'll want to understand what's behind the asset management firm before they place their money. And I think the asset managers realise that, and the best will want to be ahead of the curve and be prepared, so that they have the right answers, or at least a viable plan to be compliant within the time frame.
Glen Millar from ASMA SA here in Geneva. Thank you very much for sharing this information with us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, Daniel.
And thanks for watching. Do make sure to keep clicking back on the Dukascopy TV website for latest updates and exclusive interviews. Have a great day and see you next time.